being adept at studying and researching and talking to different guys and having been in particular professions that allow me to be able to analyze data, from a primary source perspective, it's very easy for me to be aware of what comes next. Obviously based on pundits and intelligence analysis and geopolitics and different maneuvers, even economically and even culturally. But what is coming next for America, I don't think anybody can wrap their mind around. And we have the precedents for it, not the precedents for the amount of judgment that's going to come, but the precedents for how it's going to come. And we're told empirically, Jeremiah 50:51, talking about the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, right? It's a future Babylon. There was some type and shadow for the immediacy of Babylon at that time under Nebuchadnezzar, right? And those days, but it alludes to the future destruction of a future Babylon, a Babylon that is globalistic in its pursuits. It's the hammer of all the earth. It's the center of all trade. It's the center of all economies. It's the center of precious metals and precious metals exchange. Read Revelation 18. It's the center of pharmakia. The pharmakia for all the earth comes out from Mystery Babylon. It's the center of all global purchasing and purchasing power. I think I already mentioned entertainment. It's the center of all the entertainment industry. It's the center of the textiles and manufacturing. It's the center of everything of all the earth. And yet, what the scriptures say emphatically over and over and over again is suddenly in an instant, suddenly in an instant, suddenly in an instant. That is the singularity of the destruction of Mystery Babylon. That's different from the internal decay of every other empire in the history of humanity. All the other empires have gone into decay, systematic decay, but if you pay attention, they all still currently exist today. Iraq exists today. Rome and Italy exist today. The Greeks and the Grecian Empire exist today. Syria, which is the Assyrians, still exist today. They all still exist. None of them have been utterly wiped off the face of the earth. But the peculiarity of Mystery Babylon, it's in a single day and a single hour and a suddenly, in the instant, it is done. All the smoke is seen arising from her cities. It is no more. It talks about an alliance of her enemies coming against her, an alliance being formed in secret from her enemies. And also the scriptures speak about an alliance of her once former allies coming against her. Think about the United States of America recently destroying Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 gas pipelines to feed what are historically our long-term allies in Europe. You have France pivoting towards Russia and China. You have Germany pivoting towards Russia and China. You have some of the Scandinavian countries, the Baltic nation states, right? We have a lot of like the Kosovo, Moldova, Bosnia, Herzegovina, that type of area pivoting. All the stands are pivoting. North Africa and the Horn of Africa are pivoting. Everybody is pivoting because they are sick of the wickedness of Mystery Babylon. Though they have grown rich from and grown drunk from our mercantilism and from our high affluence and luxuries, they actually all are, not all, but many are in secret agreements to turn their backs on the U.S. or to look a blind eye when these other mega superpower nations come against the United States of America. We are very well aware of the infiltration from inside and outside of the United States of America, and actually what would be a cordoning off of the United States from both the southern border and the northern border and the Gulf and both coasts through subsurface warfare and other means of electronic warfare, all the way out to the Pacific to what happened in Lahaina and Maui and our strategic missile defense systems that are out there, all the way over into the other aspect of it, right? Guam and our other forward operating bases that have these same assets in place there. And all of them singularly right now in real time are being assaulted and taken down, and their eyes are being gouged out. Enter the Chinese spy balloon that was allowed through stand-down orders from the executive branch down to our military-industrial complex to stand down and allow it to do what it was here to do, which, from what I've learned, was to collect the encoding, the particular encoding from the nuclear football and strategic command of the PEOC to the Missileer systems in both Montana and North Dakota to delay the launch by 6 minutes. That's how nuanced, in particular, the intel that I've been made aware of, that spy balloon came over just to pull the data, the electronic warfare data, to be able to delay that message getting to the Missileers and our terrestrial-based missile systems as a part of our nuclear triad, to just delay them being able to launch a strike when they see the other missiles inbound. That was the whole purpose of the Chinese spy balloon. Now that even gets into the firing of the 12 Missileers and the firing of the top tier command guys and the restructuring. I mean, this stuff is going on in real time for the wholesale complete destruction of Mystery Babylon in a single day and a single hour. That doesn't even scratch the surface on the by Michael Yon and other amazing investigative journalists, depictions, boots on the ground, primary source depictions of the Chinese military-age fighting men, up to 10,000 a week coming across the U.S. border, pre-staging with assets. We have, our deep water ports being sold off to the Chinese back in the day. We have the Panama Canal being given over to China by the Biden administration. Currently, you have Trudeau to the north signing bilateral agreements with the CCP to allow Chinese military to come and secure their assets if they happen to be in Canada or they have any form of Canadian operations. We have the firsthand primary source report elsewhere. And Steve, I just learned this yesterday from a guy, and I won't give any indicators other than to say that he is an electrical engineer that specifically works in the top tier elite of underground bunker construction. He's just the electrical engineer side of it.
And again, Jamie, I think the thing that people need to understand, by the way, it was the triad. It was an inverted triangle. It starts in Maelstrom Air Force Base, then it goes to Grand Forks, North Dakota, and then it goes down into Cheyenne, Wyoming. And ladies and gentlemen, what Jamie's telling you is so critical because it all fits. And ladies and gentlemen, we've been sold down the drain. And when you hear that the Deagle report is saying there's going to be 250 to 270 million Americans dead by next year at this time, I would say, Jamie, that's kind of a kick in the butt that you better start realizing what's going on. And, I got an email from a veteran, okay, and combat veteran, and he was telling me that he was in a store in Utah, encountered a Chinese soldier. Guy didn't have Chinese uniform, but he was a Chinese soldier. And my friend said, "We're going to resist you." And the Chinese said to him, just boldly and just as matter-of-factly as he could, "We've already defeated you. Your country is now ours." And ladies and gentlemen, we have and Jamie, you need to address it because you're a military guy, but we have no force in this country that could repel even a narco-terrorist invasion, let alone all of the terrorist cells, where if it's the IRGC, the Iranian Guard, or you name it. We do not have any capabilities, and yet those chirpies in Washington want to disarm us. And do you think that Americans can even embrace the fact that we have such treason, treachery, lechery, debauchery, and the mockery of the living God, that we're already, in essence, we're a captured nation? And people say, "Oh, you don't love your country." I do. I love the country that honored God, equal justice under the law. Now there's no justice at all except to watch a debauched legal system with crazy-ass judges absolutely abrogating the rule of law, making, as Doug was one of the first guys, Doug, you remember this, talking about lawfare and using the law as warfare against the people, but it would be predetermined outcomes. For instance, all these rioters for Palestine and all this stuff going on in Gaza, not one of those people's charged, yet we still have 450 plus brothers in the Lord Jesus Christ. The majority of them are Christians, and the Christians don't even, choose your words wisely, Steve, they don't even know what that symbolizes. Then you get some crazy-haired hater of white people, which she likes platinum blonde hair, whatever her name is, I forget her name now, but, blaming everything on white Christians. This is not about racism, it's about realism. But Jesus told us in Matthew 24, it would evolve into racism because kingdom will come against kingdom, and nation means ethnic against nation, ethnic. Bozeman, Montana, we have now two of the we have super heavy presence of narco terrorist gangs and drugs running through this town like running water. I had to take a friend of mine to the hospital, the emergency room, about a month ago, and everybody in the emergency room could not speak English. They had to bring someone out. And Jamie, I'm not kidding you. I counted them. I can at least count to 12. And the bottom line is they all had cell phones. And I asked somebody there, I said, you just have to, and they said this, I said, do you have to, handle this? Because the American medical system is being assassinated. And ladies and gentlemen, we're not overwhelming or being overwhelmed just by the borders. Every aspect of our society, we have vets that are being, and this is true, they're being taken off the streets and they're being taken to places where they're never seen again. That's the old, that was going on 20 years ago. So, Jamie, how do you, Doug, and I would say this, God has blessed us. It's his blessing on our lives to articulate and I hate the word, the lateness of the hour. I'm down to the sin of the second, the madness of the minute, but we're still so impotent. And this is inaccurate. People say, "Oh, you're just making it all up." No, I'm not making it all up. But the from a fighting man's position, who's been all over the world, private security contractor, everything you've done, Marine, I think it's important that you explain the prepositioning of men and materials, because you just are hearing the same thing I know I'm hearing in the background, that we don't even have ammunition to send to our, I call them expeditionary forces, U.S. military guys we're sending out of country, different places in the world. They take whatever they're assigned. How many rounds of ammo does an average Marine carry? For instance, if you've got, go ahead.
Yeah, it depends. It depends, but typically, even our loadout is 6 full mags at 30 rounds a mag. And if you're doing more of a direct action mission, you might be loaded out with 12 full mags. Which is quite a bit to carry. Maybe some bandoliers so that you can restock on the fly, but it's not a lot. And it is interesting to note the strategic nature of how the suddenly with regards to Mystery Babylon comes. And I'm going to back up a little bit and answer a question that you asked a couple minutes ago, Steve, is how or why aren't we able to understand the nature, the reality, the lateness of the hour? Like you said, the madness of the minute or the sin of the second it's in regard to the pride and the arrogancy. And if we go back, like we're, to stay Mystery Babylon centric, is that the moniker for Mystery Babylon is the arrogant one. Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Revelation 18, that is the singularity of the posture of Mystery Babylon is arrogancy. Arrogancy. Here's what most people don't understand because they're not super in tune to anywhere else in the world other than what's going on in Hollywood and on freaking Facebook or some other ridiculous thing, right? Is that
frequency